Dean, I can confirm that the recording started. Thanks, Barbara.
Apologies, Jenny.
Okay, thank you. So welcome everybody. Please note the board meeting is being live streamed and will be recorded and published online for public viewing after the meeting. Can members activate their cameras where possible to enable you to join by video? And can all attendees mute their microphones when not speaking? Please do not come in during items unless I invite you to do so. Can I confirm that all the members of the board have been able to access the papers for today's meeting in advance?
Yes.
And if you wish to speak on any point, members, raise your hand in the Teams meeting, or if you've dialed in, you can raise your hand by pressing *5. If any members lose connection or have any technical issues during the meeting, please alert the Deputy Clerk by a separate Teams instant message if possible. Support will be available from Andrew Smith, the IT officer today. His telephone number is 01467 536 195 if that's required during the meeting. There will be comfort breaks at appropriate points throughout the meeting as well. So first thing, I'm going to go to the Deputy Clerk to take the sederant, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to read through my list and I could just ask you all to confirm that you're present. So starting with Mr. Stuart Adams.
Present.
Ms. Dawn Black.
Present.
Mr. Jeff Crowson.
Present.
Thank you. Mrs. Marion Ewanson.
Present.
Mr. Jeff Goodall.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Trevor Masson.
Present.
Mr. Richard Maynard.
Good morning. Present.
Good morning. Mrs. Jenny Nichol.
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Mel Sullivan.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm not sure if we have Mr. Ian Taylor back. Do we have? I know he said he may be late this morning. Mr. Taylor here yet? Chair, he did advise that he may be slightly late in attending.
Yeah. Okay.
Chair, we have apologies from Sergeant Grant, but we have PC Mitch Dixon present. We also have our LSOs, all 4 of them. Solicitor Barbara Alexander is taking minutes today and dealing with the recording. We also have present Senior Solicitor Suzanne Ward, who is clerking item 6. We have Beatrice Hay as our administrator, and our paralegals, Clark Simpson and Harriet Tevendale. In charge of live stream this morning is Jenny Mearns, and observing is Alistair McIver, who is a trainee solicitor within our department at the moment.
Okay.
Chair, we also have several members of the public, and Andrew Mackey is an agent for an item later on. They are present but currently muted.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, so welcome all. Moving on to item 1B, declaration of members' interests. Members, please state if you have an interest to declare, and if you have, please clarify by giving the item number, the nature of the declaration, and whether or not you will leave the meeting. I don't see any indication. Okay. Item 2 is the equalities resolution. Just asking members to adhere to the equalities duty. Do they agree that in making decisions on the reports, members are reminded of their legal duty under section 149 of the Equality Act 2010 to have due regard to the need to eliminate discrimination, harassment and victimisation, advance equality of opportunity between those who share a protected characteristic and persons who do not share it, and foster good relations between those who share a protected characteristic and persons who do not share it. The protected characteristics under the legislation are age, disability, gender reassignment, pregnancy and maternity, race, religion or belief, sex, sexual orientation, and in relation to point 1 above, marriage and civil partnership. The members agree?
Agreed.
Okay,
Agreed.
thank you.
Agreed.
Then item 3 is the minute of the licensing board, the previous meeting on the 28th of February. This is for approval as a correct record only. Can we agree this minute as a correct record?
Agreed.
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 Okay,
Agreed.
thank you. We then move on to the first of our applications for today, item 4, and these are applications for premises or provisional premises licenses which are non-contentious. The first one is for Donect Whisky Limited. Is it Harriet? Are you taking us through that one?
Yes, that would be correct. Thank you, Chair. As previously stated, the first application is for Donect Whisky. The premises are a lockfast store and a dispatch facility situated in the heart of Blackburn Industrial Estate. This is for the sale of specialist online whisky and other alcoholic drinks. No public are allowed access to the premises and there's no display area. You'll be able to collect the alcohol from the site through a dispatch hatch by appointment or appointment only. This is through email or telephone. Deliveries and dispatch of alcohol will also be made. Alcohol will only be sold for consumption off the premises. The premises is a lockfast and secure storage of alcohol. Challenge 25 will be obtained at each stage of the operating, including delivery. No seasonal variations per our licensing board policy statement have been applied for. The only representation received from the consultation was from our licensing standing officer, who asked for standard local conditions to be applied. The applicant has accepted all conditions, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the board members may have.
Okay, have we got any questions or any points of clarity, members? No. In that case, then, can we look at the recommendations? 1.2a. Do you have sufficient evidence to allow a determination to be made?
Yes.
And in terms of recommendation 1.2b, having determined that there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Grant.
Granted.
Granted. Okay, so that application is granted. That's for Donect Whisky Limited. And the second application is Greens Retail Limited. Harriet, is that you again?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you, Chair. The premises is a single-storey convenience store located in the predominantly residential area of Portlethen. It is a community-based store for everyday purchases and home deliveries. The premises will offer a wide range of products, including newspapers, magazines, fresh and frozen products, tobacco, alcohol, lottery, etc. Alcohol will be sold for consumption solely off the premises. The store will be open at all times throughout the years, including the public holidays, such as New Year's Day and Christmas Day. There will be no reduced trading hours. Recorded music will also be played in the background of the store, and the premises will also offer a home delivery of all items stocked within the premises. This includes alcohol. The only representation again was received from our licensing standing officer, who asked for standard local conditions to be applied. The applicant has accepted all these conditions stated, and I'm happy to answer any further questions.
Okay, again, members, any questions? No. So again, we go to the recommendations. 1.2a. Have you got sufficient evidence to allow a determination to be made?
Yes.
And recommendation 1.2b, having determined that there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Grant.
Granted.
Granted. So that application for Greens Retail Limited at Portlethen is also granted. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 5, which are applications for major variations of premises licence, and again, they're non-contentious. The officer taking the report this time is Morag Stevenson.
Thank you, Chair. There are 4 applications. However, I'm going to hand those over to our paralegal, Harriet, and she'll take the board through each application in turn.
Okay, thank you. Harriet?
Thank you, Chair. The first one is for Morrison's Daily. The applicant is seeking to amend the operating plan in the licence to add home deliveries to the licence. They are also removing their seasonal variations from the operating plan to allow trading all year round. They are also amending the description of the premises. Representations were received from both Police Scotland and our licensing standing officer. This was to include an age verification system in place and standard local conditions to be applied to the licence. The applicant has accepted all conditions stated, and I'm happy to receive any questions.
Okay, again, members, have we any questions? No. So in that case, in terms of the recommendation 1.2a, have you got sufficient evidence to allow for a determination to be made?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And in terms of recommendation 1.2b, having determined there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Granted. Granted.
Grant. So that application for Morrison's Daily, Clarkhill Road, Peterhead is granted. Can you take us through the second one, please, Harriet?
Thank you, Chair. The second one is for Netherdale House in Turriff. The applicant is seeking to update the licence description, include serviceable accommodation as an activity on the licence. This is in the form of 2 properties, Keeper's Cottage and Netherdale House itself. They're also updating the operating plan to include serving residents breakfast in these accommodations. They're updating the capacity of the premises accordingly, and there's an addition of an outdoor cinema viewing area. They're increasing the scope of the licensed area and also updating the activity matrix. They're also updating the terms and parts of the premises that children and young persons may have access to. Police Scotland submitted a representation to update the risk assessment in relation to the serviceable accommodation and asked that the outdoor cinema area is to be delineated with clear signage. The LSO advised that the activity matrix was to be updated and standard local conditions have been applied. Both documents have been received by the applicant and all conditions have been agreed. Happy to answer any questions the members may have.
Okay. No questions on that one, members? Okay, in that case, in terms of recommendation 1.2a, does the board have sufficient evidence to allow determination to be made?
Yes.
Agreed. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And in terms of recommendation 1.2b, having determined that there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Granted. Granted.
Granted. So that application from Netherdale House at Turriff has been granted. Okay, Harriet, number 3, Queen's Arms Hotel.
Thank you. This is for the Queen's Arms Hotel, as stated. The premises have purchased the building next door and converted it into a restaurant area. Therefore, they've added restaurant facilities as an activity to the operating plan. They've updated the layout plan accordingly and updated the capacity. They've also updated the terms and times that parts that children and young persons have access to. They've also updated the operating plan accordingly to include this new area. The only representation was received from our licensing standing officer, who asked for standard local conditions to be applied, which have all been agreed by the applicant. Happy to receive any questions that the members may have.
Okay, any questions, members? No. So in terms of recommendation 1.2a, does the board have sufficient evidence to allow a determination to be made?
Yes.
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 And in terms of the recommendation 1.2b, having determined that there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Granted.
Granted.
Okay, thank you. And the fourth one, Morrison's Daily, Yugie Street, Peterhead. Harriet, please.
Thank you. This is the last one on the report. So this is a variation again to add deliveries to the licence. They're also removing seasonal variations to allow trading all year round and amending the description of the premises. Again, there was representation received from both Police Scotland and our licensing standing officer to ask for an age verification system to be in place and standard local conditions applied to the licence, which has all been agreed by the applicant, and I'm happy to take any further questions.
Okay, members, any questions on this one? No. In that case, we can go to the recommendations. In terms of recommendation 1.2a, does the board have sufficient evidence to allow a determination to be made?
Yes.
Yes.
And in terms of the recommendation 1.2b, having determined that there is sufficient evidence, should the application be granted or refused?
Granted.
Granted. Okay. So thank you, Harriet, for all the work that goes into getting those applications ready for the board with no contentious issues.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 6, which is a hearing for an application for the review of a premises licence. This is Inverurie Enterprise Limited, Oriental Walk, 13 Elphinston Street, Port Elphinston, Inverurie. And the officer taking the report is Suzanne Ward. Can we just check that Lisa Godini, Licensing Standards Officer, is with us, and check to see if the applicant is attending today? I'll hand over to Suzanne.
Thank you, Convener. Can I just confirm if there's any representative from the Oriental Walk from Port Elphinston in the meeting at all today? Harriet, are you aware of anybody joining?
We had no response from the applicant. I would just clarify, if you are in the meeting and you're on mute, it's *5 or *6 on your phone to unmute to confirm your attendance.
Thank you, Harriet. As Harriet has confirmed, Convener, we've not had any communications from the licence holder, despite being invited to attend today's hearing. As a preliminary matter, Convener, are you happy to proceed in the absence of the licence holder?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this report is a review of a premises licence further to a review application by the Licensing Standards Officer in relation to the Oriental Walk in Inverurie. It relates to the payment, or in these circumstances, the non-payment of the annual fee. The annual fee is what, in essence, keeps the premises licence alive. It is to be paid by the 1st of October each year. As you will see from the content of the LSO's review application, no payment has been made to date, despite several attempts to engage with the licence holder in this regard. The licence holder has been written to on no fewer than 7 occasions, and the LSO has visited the premises with a view to discussing the matter and made herself available to discuss with the licence holder, all to no avail. The procedure is as set out in the report, Convener. We will first hear from the LSO, Lisa Gandini. Then the board would ordinarily hear from the licence holder. However, obviously he is not in attendance. You're required to consider and determine the premises licence review proposal for the premises detailed. The LSO can respond and answer any questions. Thereafter, a debate and decision in the usual manner. This review relates to non-payment of the licence fee, which is a mandatory condition attached to the licence. I will hand back to you now, Convener, to follow the procedure.
Okay. Thank you. Can I just confirm that Lisa Godini, Licensing Standards Officer, is present?
Yes, I'm present.
Okay, thank you. And we have already asked whether there's a representative on behalf of Inverurie Enterprise Limited present, and I don't think we have. Okay. So in line with the guidance you've received in the public participant meeting protocol for the licensing board hearings, please can you mute your microphone when not speaking if your phone permits this. Please do not speak unless I invite you to do so, and please do not interrupt any other speakers, or you may be asked to leave the meeting. And then once you've been asked to make concluding remarks, you're not entitled to speak again unless to answer a question from a board member. Once the board has made its decision, you will be asked to leave the meeting. But I think as Licensing Standards Officer, you'll probably still be in the meeting because you have an interest in some of the other cases. If the board requires to adjourn to deliberate the application, the recording of the meeting will be paused and the board will retire to a separate online meeting room and then wait in the main meeting room until the board members return and I can resume the meeting. At that point, the recording of the meeting will be restarted. Okay. So can I go first then to Lisa Godini to speak to the review of the application, please?
Good morning, thank you. So I think Suzanne possibly summarised everything kind of nicely, but I'll kind of go through the points that I've gone through in order to get us to where we are now. So before you is a review request for Oriental Walk in Port Elphinstone, where the premises licence holder has failed to pay the annual fee which was due by the 1st of October 2023. The grounds of review are for failure to comply with Schedule 3, paragraph 10 of the Licensing Scotland Act 2005, which relates to the payment of annual or reoccurring fees, as well as failure to comply with the Section 14 compliance notice, which was served on the 1st of December 2023. Oriental Walk is a restaurant and takeaway in the Port Elphinstone area of Inverurie. During the COVID pandemic, the restaurant part of the business closed. However, the takeaway part of the premises remained in place throughout the restrictions. It is my understanding that the premises now only operates as a takeaway. However, the restaurant is still set up should it still be required. Alcohol was on display behind the counter and available for purchase when I last visited the premises in December 2023. In relation to the failure of payment of annual fees, numerous steps were taken dating back to the 30th of August 2023 until the 12th of December 2023 in order to rectify the issue. However, following the request for payment, there has never been any communication between the premises licence holder and myself, or indeed any other member of the licensing team. On the 30th of August, the licence holder was sent an email from the licensing team with the reminder letter and the amount due to be paid by the 1st of October 2023. Within the letter, there were details of the amount due, the date due, and how payment could be made. On the 19th of October, I wrote to the licence holder via email advising that payment could not be traced and asked for payment to be paid within the next 7 days. The initial reminder letter was attached to the email, as well as details of how to make payment included in the body of my email correspondence. No communication was received, and a further email was sent on the 27th of October to both the premises licence holder and the premises, asking for the issue to be given immediate attention. Again, the initial reminder letter was attached to the email. On the 2nd of November, a further email was sent to both the premises licence holder and the premises, advising that the payment still appeared to be outstanding. At this stage, I also advised that the amount detailed on the initial letter was incorrect, and the amended letter with the correct amount was attached to the email. At this stage, I'd still not received any sort of communication with the premises licence holder or anybody from the business. So on the 15th of November, I proceeded to use the enforcement powers available to me. A non-compliance letter was sent by email to both the premises licence holder and the premises, giving 7 days to make the outstanding payment. A copy of the reminder letter from the 30th of August was also attached. On the 1st of December, a Section 14 notice was emailed to the premises licence holder and the business. Attached to the email was all the previous email and letter correspondence. The notice was also hand-delivered through the letterbox of the premises by myself on the afternoon of the 1st of December 2023. The premises was closed at the time, however, the letterbox is positioned just at the front of the premises, and the post needs to be picked up in order to gain access to the business. The notice stated that payment should be made within the next 7 days. On the 8th of December, an additional email was sent to both the premises licence holder and the premises, advising that payment was due that day and failure to comply would result in a premises licence review application being submitted. Again, all correspondence were attached to the email, and details how to make payment could be made were detailed in the body of the email. Again, no communication was received, and I attempted to visit the premises on the 12th of December 2023. However, the premises manager was not in the premises at the time of my visit, and no one else was able to assist with my queries. I have not attempted to make any further contact with the premises licence holder, and to date, I have not had any sort of communication from the premises licence holder in relation to the outstanding payment. And as far as I'm aware, the annual fee, which was due by the 1st of October 2023, remains outstanding. Copies of all my correspondence are attached to the papers. However, I'm happy to answer any additional questions you may have on this matter.
Okay, thank you. So, members, it's now your turn if you want to ask questions of Lisa. I don't see any. I just had a question, Lisa, on because the restaurant upstairs is closed, if they were still selling on sales, where would they be consuming that?
So when last time I visited the premises was in middle of December, so the situation could obviously have changed at that point. My understanding from speaking to a member of staff was that they were just trading as a takeaway. However, they had kind of cornered off the restaurant park at the premises, but the tables and chairs and everything were all still there. And I would assume that, you know, should somebody wish to book a table, then I would imagine that they would take that booking. But on a day-to-day basis, my understanding is that there is no restaurant facilities available, and therefore on sales would in effect not be taking place. It would only be off sales at this moment in time. I can't confirm that is still how the business is operating, but that was what the business appeared to be operating when I visited a few months ago.
Okay, thank you. Richard, I saw your hand up. Did you have a question?
You asked the question before I did. Thank you very
All right,
much.
okay.
Just one thing. How much is it costing us as a thing to keep chasing these people up? Is there a I presume there is a financial cost to the board for you know, all this paperwork that you're firing off.
Don't know if you're able to answer that, Lisa.
I mean, in terms of cost, I guess you can look at it at my time is a cost. It as stated, I think I've contacted them at least seven times, pulling together all the paperwork. You know, it's not a 10-minute email. You know, it does take a little bit of time in order to ensure process is being followed. I have visited the premises on one occasion, and that obviously comes with, again, time and a cost in terms of mileage and things like that, in terms of which gets back to you guys to pay for. So yes, there is in effect a time and a cost to chasing these issues.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure that's entirely relevant, although it's interesting. Not sure it's entirely relevant in terms of reviewing the license. Any more questions? No. Do you want to make any closing remarks, Lisa?
No, I think I've said everything. I've done everything that I feel I can do, other than camp on the doorstep of the premises. I think I've gone done everything I can in order to secure this payment, which obviously has not been sought.
Okay, thank you. So, board members, do you require any legal advice from the clerk at all? No. So in that case, can I ask a deputy clerk to please outline the terms of the legal test for the application?
Yes, thank you, convener. So the legal test, first of all, is that you require to find a ground that is established. Here it would be that a breach of a mandatory condition, which is failure to pay the annual fee within the time stipulated. Thereafter, if you find a ground is established and there is a breach of a mandatory condition here, you need to consider your options for a sanction as set out in section 3 of the report, pages 64 and 65. You may take one or more of the following sanctions, and in doing so, you're required to determine the options based on the licensing objectives. In these circumstances, this matter relates to all 5. You cannot pin it down to just the one objective. And the options are, first of all, to issue a written warning. Second is that you may consider a variation. However, it's felt that this may not be relevant in these circumstances. The third is to suspend the licence for such time as the board sees fit or appropriate. And the fourth is to revoke the licence. If revoked, the licence holder, if they wish a licence to sell alcohol, again, will require to make a new application by way of a premises licence or an occasional licence to cover the situation. This means that they cannot sell alcohol on the premises until an application of a licence is made.
Okay, thank you. Do members wish to retire to deliberate? No. Okay, so we can open up now for debate, members. It's just debate at this stage. Dawn?
Yeah, thank you. And I'd just like to thank Lisa for all the work that she's put into this. Now, obviously, the last time that Lisa tried to attend the premises, it was December, and a fair amount of time has gone past since then. It is really unfortunate that the licence holder for the premises hasn't been proactive and come back to Lisa or the department to make contact to try and explain themselves. I'm just wondering whether one last approach would be warranted to try and pin that manager down in person. I mean, I recognise that I think we've been told that their preferred method of contact is by email, but emails can disappear into the ether for all manner of reasons. And, you know, although we have put a letter through the door once or twice, I'm not sure whether revoking completely at this point would be the right way to go, and whether perhaps a suspension until payment is made, and then maybe come to a further board if that isn't forthcoming.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, Mr. Crowson, please.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe I should have come in with this a bit earlier because it's involved a bit.
Your sound isn't very good today. Is your mic down?
Yes, it was, but is
That's
that better?
Yeah.
A bit louder. Sorry, I should have maybe asked this as a bit of a question earlier, but if we were minded to suspend the licence, would we have to put a time in that, or could it be automatically lifted if the payment was made?
Question
Yes,
for
if I can come in.
Suzanne.
Yes, Convener, thank you. Yes, if there was a suspension, then I would be suggesting that it's until such time as payment is received. That way, on payment being received, the suspension would be lifted. So this is not seen as a punishment, it's a sanction that needs a bit of proportionality here. And the impact is that they cannot trade during that period of suspension. So it would be in their interests then to make that payment.
Okay, thank you. Again, appreciate all the work that Lisa has done in this, and I'm not sure what else we can actually do if we're just getting no answers at all. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Goodall, Jeff.
Thank you, Mrs. Evanson. Yeah, Lisa, you've done a lot of work on this, and I think we've done everything that we can in order to shake the tree to see if he'll respond, and he simply hasn't. I'm tempted with to ask to revoke the license, but perhaps just one last try by suspending the license. I don't see anything else that we can do. I don't think we can do anything else other than those two, but at this stage, perhaps suspend.
Okay, thank you. Members, just before we carry on, I think, can I just confirm that Mr. Taylor has joined the meeting? Are you there, Ian?
Yes, I'm on my mobile.
Okay. So can I just quickly confirm then, have you got any declarations of interest?
No declarations of interest. Thank you very much.
And do you agree to the equalities resolution?
And I agree to the equalities resolution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mason, Trevor, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. What I'm worried about is that there may be a language problem here with there being a Chinese. Now, if that's the case, well, I suppose suspending the license would be more preferable in that case. Just in case there is a language problem, if they're still not going to pay, I mean, we've got to. I think revoking is going just a little bit too far, just in case there is a language problem. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I had actually thought of that as well, but I think the fact that the required or the preferred method of communication is email might suggest that they certainly have some way of dealing with written communication. but we can find out. Mr. Goodall, Jeff?
Oh, sorry, Chair, just Mr. Taylor came in. Should he be part of this discussion at the moment, or should he, since he
No.
missed half of it? Would that?
No, he's missed the evidence.
Yeah, just to make that clear, because
Yeah.
it may give us legal problems if he votes on anything.
No, he won't be taking part in the decision.
Thank you.
Correct. I'm not going to be taking part in any decision in this particular item.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions still at this stage? Do members feel that they've received sufficient evidence upon which to make a decision?
Yes.
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 So in that case, we can move to call for a motion. Mrs. Black, Dawn?
Thank you. I would propose that we suspend the licence till such time that payment is made. I don't know whether putting a time limit on that payment being made or whether it just goes until the new year starts, which is, I think, is August, isn't it? And payment has to be made by October, for bringing it back to the board to be reconsidered. Maybe take advice on that for an additional part of the motion.
Just to see, I think we might need to set an actual time period, looking at the board's powers on page 64. Do we need to set a time period, Suzanne?
I think that would be sensible for us to say until such time as payment is made, or no later than, you know, a backstop date. Thereafter, you could take it back to the board to review.
Okay, so that would be the motion. Do we want to set a date, Mrs. Black?
I would take that on advice from the officers.
Yeah. So I think that suggestion that until payment is made or no later than.
That.
What sort of advice?
That it's suspended.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if we would maybe want to make it before the last board, before the summer. I'm just wondering the dates. I think it's the end of June. So perhaps if we were to tie it in for a week before that board date, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, that would be appropriate. Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
So I think that meeting is the 26th of June. So by the 19th of June.
Yeah, sounds reasonable. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that motion? Mr. Menard, are you seconding?
No, I'm going to put forward an alternative.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Who was number 2? Oh, Mr. Crowson.
Yes,
are you seconding?
Yes, I would like to second that motion, and hopefully if some communication can be put out. I don't know if it's possible to put it out in 2 languages, just so that we've made sure that we've taken everything into consideration.
Okay, I'm not sure if that's something that we're able to provide.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think it's something we would provide where we've not been made aware of any language barriers. And he's been happy, presumably, to receive emails by way, you know, in written English previously, and his application has been done so in that regard as well.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Menard, were you wanting to come in?
I was, yes, I'd like to put in an amendment. I think these people have had a lot of time and effort put into them already. They are in breach of the mandatory conditions. So I propose that we revoke the licence forthwith. Thank you. And I'll seek a seconder.
So a seconder for that motion, for that amendment, sorry. I think I'd be happy to second that, actually, myself, on the grounds that they have had quite a long period of time and quite a lot of input and contact made to try and receive payment of their standard licensing fee, and we've not seen that. So I would be happy to second that. Mr. Adams?
Yes, Chair, you just put me to the post there. I would be happy to second that if required. Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to come in on either of those suggestions? We have an motion and an amendment. Ms. Sullivan, please.
I was going to chip in that I don't see the harm in suspending, because that means that they can no longer sell alcohol, and it does give them that teeny tiny bit of extra time to pull the finger out, rather than the abrupt cessation and then they'd have to reapply. I mean, it sounds from the lack of contact that they're going to lose their license anyway, but it is a last ditch chance, isn't it? So.
Okay, thank you. All right, are we ready, Suzanne, to confirm the motion and amendment?
Yes, certainly, Convener. So in summary, we have a motion moved by Miss Dawn Black for where the board have found that there is grounds established for a breach of mandatory condition and a suspension of licence until payment is made with a long stop date of 19th June. And that has been seconded by Mr. Jeff Crowson. And then we have an amendment moved by Richard Menard, again on the basis that the ground is established that there is a breach of mandatory condition, and a motion that the premises licence is revoked forthwith, and that has been seconded by yourself, Ms. Marion Ewanson.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if anybody wants to sum up. I would go first to Mr. Menard.
No, I think, like I say, we've wasted an awful lot of time and energy and effort has been put in by the LSOs, and they've made no effort to get in touch with us and anything else. So personally, I think that, you know, they've breached the contract. It's costing us time, effort, and everything else. Our staff could be doing better things with their time. So no, as far as I'm concerned, I'll rest my case.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Black.
Thank you. I'm moving to do a suspension to give the whole license holder that one last chance to pay. I do feel that should it be revoked and then the another application is then forthcoming in the future, it's a lot more work in that respect. At that point, that is not you know, wouldn't necessarily have been required. So giving them that one last chance to pay with that deadline on it, and should they not pay, it can come back to the next board and be revoked at that point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can we just confirm for both the motion and amendment that all the legal tests have been made?
Yes, they have. I can confirm.
Mr. Crowson, Jeff, you want to come in?
Yeah, sorry, Chair, am I allowed to add to, since I seconded the motion?
You can do, but we are just going to move to the vote.
Councillor Dawn Black did pretty much cover what my views was, that if the amendment goes ahead, that it is actually going to cause extra work for the officers in the long run, and amended that the suspension does actually stop them trading for now and is an easier resolution if they come forward and pay it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can we move to the vote, please?
Thank you, Convener. So we have a motion that the licence be suspended until payment is made with a long stop date of 19th June. moved by Ms Dawn Black and seconded by Jeff Crowson. And we have an amendment being that the licence is revoked forthwith. And that motion moved from Richard Menard and seconded by yourself, Marion Ewanson. And if I could now ask the members to vote. And if you could just confirm motion or amendment. And when I call your name, Stuart Adams.
Amendment.
Jeff Crowson.
Motion.
Marion Ewanson.
Amendment.
Jeff Goodhall.
Motion.
Trevor Mason.
Motion.
Richard Menard.
Amendment.
Jenny Nichol.
Motion.
Mel Sullivan.
Motion.
And we've confirmed that Mr Taylor is not voting in this matter. We have 5 votes for the motion and 3 for the amendment. Therefore, the motion stands.
Sorry to interrupt. My name wasn't called for the vote.
Sorry, Dawn.
Needless to say, I'm voting for the motion, please.
Apologies, Ms Black. Sorry, I'll just confirm. Then we have 6 votes for the motion and 3 for the amendment. Apologies, Ms Black.
Okay. Can we just confirm the decision of the board then? You're on mute.
Apologies. I can confirm that the board have found that the licence holder is in breach of a mandatory condition, and therefore a suspension. You have determined that there will be a suspension of licence until payment is made, with a long stop date of 19th June 2024.
Okay, thank you. That concludes item 6. We can now move on, members, to item 7, which is another hearing, and it's the grant of an occasional licence for repeated occasional licences, or the grant of an extension of applications, and it's for Christian Stolt, the Stedding Home Farm, Mary Cooter, and I think Mr Stolt, is he in the meeting? He is attending today, I believe.
Yes, Chair, I believe he is currently on mute. Mr Stolt, are you there?
Hello.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Just to confirm that you're actually in the meeting.
Yeah.
Are you satisfied that you've received all relevant information, and do you feel able to participate in the determination of the application?
Yes.
Yeah, and you would have heard the statement earlier that the board meeting is recorded and published online for public viewing after the meeting.
Yes.
Yeah. Do we want to confirm the procedure for the hearing?
Yep.
Is it Morag?
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Chair. We also have Lisa Godini present, who is the LSO for this matter. Board, this report is before you today under the board's repeated occasional licence policy, which states that after a period of 3 months, officers like myself no longer have delegated powers to grant these applications, and instead they come before the board for an explanation as to why a premises licence application has not been made when there is routine trading taking place. You'll note in the report that it sets out the history of the applications that have been made, and Harriet will be able to provide an update on the position of any premises licence application. There is an official representation from our licensing standards officer, Lisa Godini, in relation to the latest applications, which are highlighted in the report, and it's for the board to determine whether these are to be granted today based on the explanation for any lack of premises licence application provided by the applicant. Chair, insofar as the procedure is concerned, we are to hear from the applicant, then hear from the licensing standards officer. The applicant has a right of reply. Questions can be asked of all parties, and then concluding remarks in reverse order, and then it's a matter for the board to reach determination. Perhaps, Chair, before I hand back to you, I just take this opportunity of asking Harriet to confirm whether or not any application for a premises licence has been received.
Thank you, Morag. I confirm that there's been no premises licence received.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you, Harriet.
Thank you. So I'll go back to the procedure then, and just, we see Lisa, but just for the benefit of the recording, can I confirm that Lisa Godini is present or represented?
Yes, I'm present.
Yeah. And are you satisfied that you've received all of the relevant information and feel able to participate in the determination of the application? Okay. So in line with the guidance you've received in the public participant meeting protocol for the licensing board hearings, please can you mute your microphones when not speaking? If your phone permits this, please do not speak unless I invite you to do so, and please do not interrupt the other speakers. If you do, you may be removed from the meeting. Once you've been asked to make concluding remarks, you're not entitled to speak again unless to answer a question from a board member. Once the board has made its decision, you will be asked to leave the meeting. If the board requires to adjourn to deliberate the application, the recording of the meeting will be paused and the board will retire to a separate online meeting room. Please wait in the main meeting room until the board members return and I can resume the meeting. At that point, the recording will be restarted. So first of all then, can I ask the applicant, Christian Stolt, if you could outline the terms of the application to the board, and you may wish to address the concerns raised in the representation at this time, although you will get a further opportunity to address the board after the other parties have spoken. So over to you, Mr. Stolt, if you just want to let us know about your application and maybe raise some of the concerns.
Yes, I would like to inform the board that I have been in contact with the Business Gateway who is supporting our business and also discussing the premises license. I have also, in the meantime, hired Mr. Neil Hassard, who's a licensing officer. He's a licensing lawyer whom some of you know, and discussed the planning permission. So we will. At the moment, we're drawing up plans of the premises and the adjacent buildings, and we'll submit a planning permission for the old steading probably this week or early next week. So just a quick recap. I'm at the moment I'm producing cider from an old granite steading that has been there for many years. It is in very good condition. Has received a new metal roof last year, and we have mains water, and it's about a mile off the main road on private land, on a private road that is not a true road. So we're working towards a premises license. Planning permission will be submitted this week or early next week. That concludes my comments for now.
Okay, thank you. We now go to Lisa Godini, the Licensing Standards Officer, to speak to her representation.
Thank you. So my representation is in relation to 3 occasional licence applications. The first one is from the 26th of April 2024, with the third one running until the 6th of June 2024. All 3 of these applications were lodged on the 8th of February of this year. As previously discussed, the applicant has been applying for occasional licences for their business since March 2022, with the first granted from the 24th of April 2022. So there's been a total of over 40 granted occasional licences, with the most recent due to expire on the 25th of April, which is tomorrow. With this in mind, I felt that it was my opinion that the continual use of the occasional licences to run the business is inconsistent with the Aberdeenshire Licensing Board policy statement for 2023 to 28. 4.45 of the policy relates to the repeat use of occasional licences, where it is detailed that businesses using occasional licences for a period of over 3 months will require applications to be considered at a hearing and will not be granted by the board under delegated authority. Similar occasional licence applications for the same premises were heard at the Licensing Board held on 28th of February 2024, where the applications before you were granted until the 25th of April. It was agreed that any further occasional licence applications were to be brought to a further hearing today to determine, as well as gain information from the applicant on how they are progressing with the premises licence application. At the meeting held on the 28th of February, the Licensing Board attached an additional condition to the granted licences where there were to be no tours of premises and customers could only collect alcohol orders. Should the Licensing Board be minded to grant these applications, then in my representations I have recommended conditions to apply to the granted licence. These are from the pool of the local conditions set out by the Licensing Board in addition to Schedule 4, which are attached to all granted occasional licences. I have also recommended the condition regarding the collection of alcohol only. However, this condition may wish to be considered depending on the information given to you from the applicant on the suitability of the premises being used for tours. I can confirm that I have had no contact with the applicant in relation to applying for a premises licence. However, as you've just heard, there does appear to be movement on the process, which obviously is for yourselves to discuss further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now it's your turn, Mr. Stolt, if you've got anything you wish to add, having heard the submissions from the Licensing Standards Officer.
I think that is a correct representation of the situation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I now invite board members to ask questions of all parties. Ms. Black, please.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Stolt. I mean, you have obviously taken on board the things that were said at the last board meeting when you were before us then, and really glad to hear that you've contacted Business Gateway and you're also working with a licensing lawyer. Can I just ask you, that work that's going towards the premises licence, whereabouts are you in that process and how long do you think it will be before that's submitted? Thank you.
So we are drawing up. I have somebody who will draw up a map of the location and the adjacent buildings and the access road. And I've been in contact with the licensing lawyer over the last 2 weeks. We're working on that, and we were planning to submit the planning permission this week or sometime next week. So that's the first step to need to be taken, because the premises has not been, the licensing lawyer could not find any I'm lacking the correct words here, but it hasn't been registered as a commercial property. I'm sure because it has been in the hands of the family Fortescue for a few hundred years. It probably is registered as a farm building, or some use surely is there, but it has not as commercial premises.
Okay, so sorry to come back in, Chair. So you're applying for a planning permission for change of use?
Yes, probably that may be the right terminology. Yeah.
Okay, so you wouldn't be putting in that premises license until that is approved. Is that what I'm taking from that?
Yes, yes. I think I've been advised that's the first step that needs to be taken.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can I just ask a question, Mr.
Sure.
Stolt? Just how many years have you been trading from this particular site?
I think around 3 years now, 3.5,
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Mm.
And has the issue of whether or not it had planning permission never come up?
No, it has never come up so far. No.
Okay. Any further questions from anybody? Mr. Taylor, please.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank Mr. Stolt for his comments and presentations. I would just like to continue Ms. Black's questioning a little bit and ask that provided the planning permission is approved and you do have change of use, would it be your intention then to apply for the premises license?
Absolutely, yeah, that is the plan.
So it's basically a timescale issue at this stage.
Yes. So I've been advised by Neil Hassard that it needs to be taken. I can't do everything at the same time. So the first thing is getting the proper planning permission for the premises, and then I can take the next step.
Yep, I understand that, and I thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? No. In that case, we can go to closing remarks. So starting first with the Licensing Standards Officer, Lisa.
I have no further kind of comments to make at this stage.
Okay. And Mr. Stolt, do you wish to say anything in closing?
No, I think I'm everything has been covered that I can think of.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So do board members require legal advice from the clerk? Ms. Black?
Thank you. Just want to check from the legal department, now that we know that the change of use has not occurred, so that necessarily the premises that's in question doesn't have planning permission to be selling commercially, does that affect an occasional licence?
It's a very good question. As my understanding is, these are very separate issues. I mean, it's unfortunate that he appears to have been trading. It's effectively off sales. He appears to have been trading for 3 years, but it does sound like we're now heading down the right road to lining everything up. He's going to need a Section 50 for a full planning permission, and that will of course deal with the building. But I can totally understand why he's been advised that he needs to get his change of use through planning first. But insofar as the license is concerned, it's not going to affect an occasional license.
Okay,
no,
that's fine. Thank you very much. No, I just wanted to be sure about that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other advice required? I think that's actually the key point that we were all wondering. So good to get clarity on that. So in that case, could the Deputy Clerk please outline the terms of the legal test for the application?
Thank you, Chair. As you'll be aware, you have no clear grounds upon which to refuse the applications. The point of this hearing is to ensure that the applicant moves towards a premises licence in accordance with our policies. Any grant of these licences is going to be subject to the standard conditions and the specific conditions stated within the LSO's report. I would, however, also take this opportunity to ask the board to consider how they would wish for any future occasional licence applications to be dealt with. It's something that you will have come across before. You have the option of asking this matter to come back before the next board hearing, which is the 26th of June. And the current occasional licences that are before you actually finish on the 6th of June. So there will be a space between that last licence and the next board hearing, should you wish this matter to come back. Your alternatives are to delegate authority to officers to deal with all future occasional licence applications pending the premises licence being received, or to ask the matter to come back before the board. But again, I'd be asking you to consider delegating power for that intervening period. Or your third option would be to delegate authority to officers in conjunction with the convener and vice convener. So I've just asked for a steer from the board as to how you wish those future applications to be dealt with.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to Ms. Sullivan and then I'll come in on that point.
Would it be possible to delegate permission for occasional licenses till the next board but one? So not the June one, but the one after, because then we can again check that progress is still being made.
Yes, there'd be no difficulty. It's whether or not you wish the matter to come back before the board, and what you wish to do with the intervening period until we get to whichever board hearing you would prefer. I don't have, I'm sure Harriet can confirm to me, I don't have the date of the board meeting after the 26th of June. I suspect that's after summer recess.
It's the 21st of August.
There you go, thank you.
Yeah.
So no, that would be an option.
Okay, yeah. Mr. Crowson, please.
So just to clarify and to try and simplify things up a bit, we can delegate powers with the wording as long as officers have seen progress being made towards the premises licence.
Yes, if matters were not to proceed, then we can always take matters back before the board. It's whether or not you want to keep a hold on this matter until you can see a premises licence being applied for.
Thank you.
Okay. I mean, I'd be happy with a delegation to officers, probably with consultation with myself to delegate future occasional licence applications. And I think the next board is maybe too soon, but I think if there's no progress being made, I would look for some control to be kept of this application by the board. So I would look for the appearing at the next board in August if the premises licence has not been submitted. If we can word that properly. Mr. Menard?
Yes, I actually agree with you. I was going to say exactly the same as what you were saying. So if you put that as a motion, I would gladly second it. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're still kind of at debate, but Mr. Goodall?
Thank you, Mrs. Evanson. Yeah, I would agree with what has been discussed so far. And those would have been my points, but I was just wondering about the tours. Have we satisfied ourselves that the tours are no longer happening?
Can I put that question to the applicant at this point?
Yes, I confirm that there are no tours happening. There will be no tours happening until the premises license has been granted.
Okay. Any further comments? So we weren't looking, we got one point of legal advice. We've opened the debate already. Any other points? Can members confirm you've received sufficient evidence upon which to make a decision?
Agree.
Yes.
Agreed. Yes.
Agreed.
So in that case, call for a motion. I'm happy to put what I said earlier on as a motion, that we delegate authority for assessing future occasional licence applications with a provision that the premises licence is applied for by the August board, the August date, 21st of August. And there's a specific condition on the licence about no tours. Do we want to keep that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just go to Harriet, please? Do you want to just clarify that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So it was decided at the last board that there was a specific condition implemented onto the occasional licences that were brought before yourselves to ensure that no public had access to the premises, and specifically that no tours were carried out. Just to confirm that you still want that condition applied to all these occasional licences going forward, and just so obviously there's a public record of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Members agree that we need to retain that condition?
Agree.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a seconder to the motion, Mr. Menard?
Yes, I wholeheartedly second that motion. Thank you.
Okay. Is there an alternative view? No. So in that case, can I check by roll call that that decision is unanimous?
Thank you, Chair. If you just give me 2 seconds. Sorry.
That's okay.
Are you happy for me to confirm the wording of that motion, just to make sure?
Yes,
Is everybody clear? So, okay, so we have a motion by Mrs. Ewanson, seconded by Mr. Maynard, to grant the 3 occasional licenses before you today, to include the standard conditions and the special conditions contained within the LSO's report, which are to include the specific condition that no tours are to take place within the premises, and thereafter to delegate authority to officers to process future occasional licence applications in consultation with the convener, with the provision that will continue until such time as a premises licence application has been applied for, or until 21st of August, which is until the next board hearing, and then have the matter back before the board.
Okay,
Does that sum
yeah,
that
we're
up?
clear.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So, Mr. Stuart Adams?
Yeah, I agree with the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dawn Black?
Agreed.
Thank you. Mr. Jeff Crowson?
Agreed.
Mrs. Marion Ewanson?
Agreed.
Mr. Jeff Goodall?
Agreed.
Mr. Trevor Mason?
Agreed.
Mr. Richard Maynard?
Agreed.
Mrs. Jenny Nichol?
Agreed.
Ms. Mel Sullivan?
Agreed.
Mr. Ian Taylor?
And agreed.
And that should be everybody.
Okay, thank you. So, do we just want to confirm the decision for the benefit of the applicant?
I can do. So as far as the applicant is concerned, your 3 occasional licenses today have been granted, with subject to the standard local conditions and the special conditions contained within the LSO's report, to include the specific condition that no tours are to take place in the premises, and thereafter future occasional license applications have been delegated to be dealt with by officers in consultation with the convener up to the 21st of August to allow a premises licence to be applied for, and the matter will call before the board again on the 21st of August.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Stolt, your licenses will be sent to you within the decision will be within the next 7 days, will be sent to you, and then the licenses will follow in due course. You're welcome to stay if you have nothing better to do today, but equally you're perfectly free to leave the meeting.
Thank you very much. I have something better to do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right, members, I would suggest we have a comfort break at this point. So it's almost 11:30. So if we come back at 11:45. Okay. Thank you.
Mrs. Ewanson, would it be appropriate for me to leave now then?
Oh, of course, yes. And then just let us know when you're back in the meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So we pause the live stream and the recording.